Hi guys, welcome to the Citizen channel. I hope you're all staying safe and well. Please, if you are new to this channel, please push that subscribe button. We do everything City, past and present here on these little vlogs, so I do try and inform and entertain, and there's some links on screen as well for Facebook and Twitter where I do post loads of City stuff. So if you follow a friend me on there, I do check every few days and follow and friend everyone back. And if you do get a chance, please have a check out my film and TV channel as well, which I try and inform and entertain on there, and all the latest films and TV drama here in the UK and from around the world. So if you can check that out, that will be fantastic. Anyway, hope you enjoy today's feature. Today on our History Boys feature, we're going to go back to 1981. An interesting time, certainly for me. A little bit more on that in a moment. But we're going to go back to the Goldstone ground. Yeah, Brighton and Hove Albion versus Manchester City on the 3rd of October 1981 today on the History Boys. So hopefully you'll enjoy this. Yes, personally, yes, interesting times. October 81. My firstborn daughter, Leanne, was just 10 days old. So a trip down to Brighton wasn't really on offer or something I could take up on, to be honest with you. I was allowed to escape to Main Road, but there's no sort of 12 weeks off work for me. It was just a few days and back to sort of a 50, 60 hour with overtime week at GEC in Trafford Park. Obviously Manic Miner came into this as well with the old Spectrum 48K. Obviously we got through some early morning feeds, taking turns playing Manic Miner while one of us fed the baby, sort of thing. So interesting, but I wouldn't have changed it for anything. Great times. I mean, when you're young and physically fit, anything is possible. So there you go. But yeah, personally, they were great times for me. And obviously 3rd of October 1981 was no different. Over to football. Yeah, Bill Shankly had just recently passed away about a few days before, at the end of September. Brian Robson had become the most expensive transfer purchase by United from West Bromwich Albion at a princely sum of £1.5 million. Away from footy, yes. The Police, if you like, the Police. Invisible Sun was the UK's number one at that time, and Raiders of the Lost Ark was packing them in at the cinemas. Great film, still great film now. Fantastic film, 40 years later as I'm recording this. And £1 in your pocket then, well, it'd be worth about £3.93 now, so not a vast amount, but obviously, yeah, you probably bought you more in those days than £3.93 would in these days. So on to the 3rd of October 1981, of course, City's trip down to the south coast. A first division game, of course. Brighton had a new manager in charge that season, a guy called Mike Bailey. They sat okay. They sat midway, about 11th after 7 games with 9 points. Only 2 points behind City, who was 7th. Obviously, this was John Bond's first full season. He sort of took us to the FA Cup final the season before, didn't he? And a lot of things were expected from City, especially with the recent signing we've made. A bit more on him in a moment. But this was John Bond's first full season in charge of City. He wasn't to spend too many in charge, was he? Much say was expected. This was, again, hopes were high, as they always were in those days. And this actually was only City's 4th visit to the Goldstone ground. Yeah, we obviously hadn't played Brighton much over the years. And injuries, sadly, were piling up for us. As I said before, we had an interesting transfer into the club. Trevor Francis, of course, had just joined City, but he was out. Nothing unusual about that with an injury. Jerry Gow had been struggling, with his knee. Had been pivotal, of course, the season before for City, and he faced an operation on his knee, so he was going to be out for a while. Paul Power, the engine, obviously another guy in midfield, was also out with the ankle ligament trouble. But manager John Bond, we were struggling. We didn't have any sort of transfer deadline days in those days. You could buy a player if you needed it. But Mr. Bond was told there was very limited funds to bring anyone in after that significant marquee purchase, of course, of Trevor Francis. And that was about £1 million, wasn't it? Not so much, but there you go. A few weeks earlier, which had probably emptied the piggy bank, hadn't it, at that stage? But somehow the board and, of course, Mr. Swales managed to get sort of beg, steal and borrowed £350,000 to finally, he didn't make it for this game, but to finally bring Asa Hartford back from Everton. Yeah, one of our little legends, obviously, leading up to this. And I don't think he was ever really happy at Everton, but we managed to get that together anyway to help for this injury crisis. But I think he would get his debut in the game after this. I think was obviously we had a couple of games. We had a League Cup game, but then we played United in the league, and I think Asa would appear in those, or that United game. So on to this Brighton game, the match report, the starting lineups on the day that day, a lot of familiar names for guys like me, and obviously you younger ones, you'll probably know some of these names, Corrigan, Ranson, McDonald, Reed, Bond, Caton, Chewett, O'Neill, Boyer, Hutchinson. Of course, Boyer stepped in for Francis when he was injured. Hutchinson, Reeves, and the sub was Mr. Clive Wilson. He wasn't used on the day. Brighton, interesting team. A lot of City connections to come, of course, in this one. Mosley, Shanks, Williams, Grealish, no relation, of course, to our Mr. Grealish. Foster, Gattin, yes, I think he's related to the cricketer from memory, if I'm right. I'm not too sure. I think he may have been. Case, yes. Case obviously had been found fame at Liverpool. Andy Ritchie, of course, had found fame at United, ex-United player. A certain Michael Robinson, a certain Gordon Smith, and a certain Neil McNabb. There you go. So plenty of connections there. And the sub for Brighton was a guy called Stevens. He actually came on at the end of the first half, which did cause trouble for Brighton, but obviously it didn't cause enough trouble, unfortunately. A crowd, 18,284 that day. Probably about 1,500, 2,000 City fans there. Steve Foster had recently replaced, of course, Brian Horton, as we all know well, as captain. Brian Horton moved to Luton, and obviously we would cross his path as a player and a manager in future years, wouldn't we? But that was to come, of course. Awful weather, absolutely never stopped raining. It was terrible. As you just look at there's actually some footage on YouTube of a lot of the second half, actually. So seek that out. I'll try and put the link on here as well for you to find it. But terrible weather conditions if you were down at Brighton that day. You must have got absolutely soaked. There wasn't much coverage at the old Goldstone ground. And both teams played out a pretty lifeless first half in the conditions, to be honest with you. The City did actually look more likely to score in that first half. But the half-time OXO appeared to work miracles as far as our competitors were concerned, as far as Brighton were concerned. And it would erupt with 5 goals. Sadly, only one was for City. But as the wind and rain that had sort of been in favour of City in that first half, obviously switched. Well, it didn't switch, but it gave advantage, obviously, to Brighton in the second half, who obviously kicking with it. And obviously City couldn't quite cope. There was actually 4 Brighton goals would come in around 10 minutes as City, we were literally blown away, let's be honest about it. The 1-0 was basically a long kick from the keeper. It wasn't cut out, and Michael Robinson played it wide for Jimmy Case, who found the overlapping Neil McNabb, and his cross was slid in by Robinson. A great little goal from about 6 or 7 yards out. Corrigan and the defence, no chance. He just got in there before him. It was 2-0 when Andy Ritchie just tried, a shot from distance, about 23, 24 yards. Joe Corrigan, towards the end of his career, wasn't the greatest at long-distance shots, and this certainly beat him to his left. He had no chance of getting to it. It was 3-0 when Smith won the ball at halfway, and he put it out to Case on the right, who swung it in, and Williams controlled it perfectly and side-footed it home at the just inside, at the far post. It was 4-0, a poor pass in midfield by O'Neill, unfortunately, just inside Brighton's half. He's cut out and sets off Andy Ritchie through on his own, a sort of one-on-one. He coolly beats Corrigan. Corrigan sort of committed himself to the end to just come outside the box and went down far too early, allowing Mr. Andy Ritchie, just to dink it over him into the corner of the goal. Andy Ritchie, as I said, this substitution in the first half, Andy Ritchie had been limping all second half, and he still managed to shoot away from the City defence and score this goal. As I say, in another world, he would have been brought off because of his injury, but he limped his way to a second goal and made it 4-0. Yes, we did get consolation. Kevin Reeves blasted on from about 8 yards, went underneath the keeper, got a bit of his body on it, but it sort of went under him into the goal to make it 4-1. But obviously far too little, far too late. So a very frustrating day. As I said, we'd gone down to the South Coast, possibly as favourites. Certainly a draw would have been at least minimum what we expected for the game, but we were certainly deservedly well beaten on the day. We would then drop to 10th position. and Brighton would leap above us into 8th. We would get revenge, though. We would get revenge on Brighton the following February at Main Road with a handsome, better 4-0. So obviously we won on aggregate, didn't we? So there we go. We won 5-4 aggregate overall, but there you go. And Brighton will finish the season in 13th, yes, which is the highest they've ever finished in the top division. As I'm recording this, they sit 4th in the top division, but I don't think that will last, but you never know. They could be on for a high position this season, the highest position ever in the top division. So they finished 13th, 6 points behind City by the end of the season. We did okay. We finished in 10th position. It was an okay season. It wasn't too bad. So there you go. Thanks for joining for this look back, this History Boys feature on Brighton and Hove Albion 4. Yeah, sort of horrible histories one, this, isn't it? But yeah, I've not had one of them for a while, but it probably could be classed as that. Brighton Hove Albion 4, Manchester City 1 on the 3rd of October 1981 with yours truly, tired but happy. Anyway, thanks for watching. What are you going to do the rest of the day? Have a great one. Look after yourselves, look after your friends, look after your families. Money point, let's all look after each other. Till we meet here again on the Citizen channel. I'll perhaps have a flick across fleet, have a look at my film and TV channel if you get a chance. I try and inform and entertain on there as well. I only ask one thing, guys, don't I? Please stay safe, everyone. Come on, City. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.